Hey, Jenna, how are you doing?
Hello. Good morning to you. It's morning. Yeah. Well,
Yes, it
kind
is.
of.
Well, kind of for us. For
That's true.
us this morning. Are
That's
you like that? Are you I find a lot of like creatives, people in like show business. Are you more of a morning person or a night person?
night person all the way. I
Yes.
literally hate the morning. I'm not a human
Same.
in the morning.
Me either. Me either. It takes me a bit to get up and get going. Like
Same.
even if I'm excited to start the day, I'm still like, no, just let me wake up.
Let
Let me
me
wake
like
up.
slowly emerge into this day.
Yeah. Well, and two, it's probably because everything like your work, right, with theater, it's typically evening shows, right? It's all typically evening stuff. So I'm sure you've gotten even conditioned to just be more active and energetic in the evening. And so it's hard to wind
Right.
down,
Oh
after
yeah,
that.
absolutely. Like all the shows are at night and you get into this like schedule where you have to sleep in to get them out of sleep because you're getting home
Yeah.
so late. But I
Yeah.
will say it's kind of the opposite for auditions because you have to get up at the butt crack of dawn for audition. But like
Why do
all
they
the
do that to you?
truly, what are they doing?
You should be like, so is this show gonna be in the morning? Or like, why are we doing this so early? Yeah, no, I'm the same way. Because as you know, I did music for a long time. And so you only did gigs and shows at night.
Right.
So, I'm not going to get home at 1 a.m. and then wake up at 5. Like that's not going to happen.
It's just not gonna happen.
Not going to happen. But so I want to talk about, because I know we're similar in the sense that we are multi-passionate. We have a lot of things we're passionate about, but I just love, and I have always loved how you have combined everything that you do into like one thing. Like it's many things, but
Right.
it's one thing. And I'm like, she is a genius how she just curated all of these loves and passions and was able to just target that to a specific audience. And so I want to hear more about all of this. So tell us everything that you're into, Jenna.
Well, you're making me blush over here. um, yeah, so I think that's one of the things that makes what I do unique from other people,
Yeah.
that it is kind of all woven together in, this multi-hyphenate kind of world that I've created.
Yeah.
Um, so like for example, my social media management packages have theater actor related names because I specialize
Yeah.
in arts-based small businesses and nonprofits, which are the two things, theaters and virtual musical theater schools and Broadway merchandise and all the things I specialize in have to do
Yeah.
with. So it makes sense for me to do that
Mhm.
way. But it also has just brought me joy because obviously theater brings me joy, social media brings me joy. And I always say, you have to love what you do. You don't have
Yeah.
to love every part of what you do. It's a
Right.
job. Of
Right.
course, there's going to be parts that you don't enjoy doing, like any job. But,
Right.
we work way too much in our lives to not enjoy what we do.
Oh,
Like,
exactly.
yeah, it's just not worth it to be dreading waking up in the morning, specifically like, oh, I have to do this, and this at work today. Oh, I don't want to do that.
Right. And it doesn't serve you and it doesn't serve whoever you're doing the work for if you're not
Right.
passionate about it.
Right. Of course. Yeah.
And we're
I
so
think,
fortunate to be in that position.
right. Right.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that you can't really teach, right? Like
Yeah.
you can't teach someone to be more passionate about something. You can
Right.
teach someone and encourage someone to light a fire under their booty to like get going, but you
Yeah.
can't teach them that passion.
Right. Yeah. And I just think everyone has to find that on their own.
Right,
You
right.
just have to try different things and see what hits, what
Mm-hmm.
just hits you that way. Um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, I just love like, even when introducing you, it's like Jenna Leigh Miller, singer, dancer, social media manager. It's like all of these things. And I'm like, this is so fantastic. But like you just explained, like you wrap those all up into that's what you do. So you are an actor, you do theater, and you then help those in that space with social media.
And, you know,
like perfect.
actually took me a really long time when someone asked me, so what do you do? I used to be like, oh no, like, please don't make me answer this, because normally I'm like, I'm this and this and this and this and this. And people go, oh, wow, that's interesting, you know? But now it's something that I own. I'm like, hi, you know, my name is Jenna Leigh Miller. I'm an actor, singer, dancer. I'm a social media manager. I'm a theater and brand coach for actors. Like, now these are things that I'm proud of and I wear as a badge of honor, because I have found a way to fit all my passions into. It's so funny. I always tell my clients, I want you to create a brand that's like a beautiful little package with like a bow, like, and present it to people, you know? And I feel like I have found a way to present it in a more, I don't know, approachable way, that they're not like, oh, this girl is crazy, you know? She does all these things, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I love that, because like it shows how much a strong personal brand can do. Because well, even whenever, you know, I said the other day, I saw in your stories, like everything that you just happened to be filming had like yellow in it, because you're always showing your brand colors yellow. And I was like, how do you find everything in the world to be on brand with you? And I was like, it's like the world is on brand with Jenna. Like, it's so
and funny. You know, that's the mindset of, like, I'm sure you've heard of the lucky girl mindset or psychology, where it's like, oh, you know, everything works out for me, I'm just lucky that way, you know? And I feel like, because we are currently in audition season, I have really tried to adapt that mindset. So I think that plays into it too, you know, mindset is so important.
Oh yeah. Too. It's like your subconscious kicks in and notices that, like, even if you don't consciously notice those things, your subconscious does.
Right.
You know, not that I'm a scientist or anything. Or neurologist, or not neurologist.
Oh, we know you love the psychology talk.
I do love the psychology. Oh my gosh, I love the psychology. But it's true. I think that like that, like you said, that whole lucky girl thing, it's the mindset. It's like, you're going to notice what is on your mind, or like top of mind. So if you're constantly thinking in a positive way, or you're constantly trying to seek out a certain opportunity or whatever, you're going to see that
in other places.
You're going to notice it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You're going to notice it way more. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I just love that. And like you said too, people being like, oh, that's so many things, but the way you present it, the way you package it, it works. I just love it. You know this. I just love how you package it all together. It's so great. But so I want to talk about, though, another big thing is not only how you package and present your brand and your offer, but just you showing up, your personality, your personal brand again, how like nothing stops you from showing up. And I just love that about you. Like, you are showing up all the time, no matter what. And, you know, the big thing I'm going to bring up is your knee injury that you had, was last year, right? It was about a year ago.
Yes, July, almost a year.
Yeah. So you showed up that entire time documenting your journey, and it fit too. Like, you made it fit with your brand, because obviously, I'll let you tell the story, but obviously it was an injury that happened, that probably happens to maybe a lot of dancers, a lot of performers, maybe. And it happened on the job. And so it just affected your entire year, but you kept showing up. So I want you to tell us a little more about that.
Yeah. So I was on a contract doing a show last summer, and I tore my ACL and my meniscus. And then I had surgery. It's about a year recovery. So we are very close to the finish line.
So exciting.
Yeah. And, you know, things definitely had to shift when I was in my recovery, especially in the very beginning stages. Like I hired my assistant to take over my clients for the first week, because the first week is definitely the roughest. I mean, of course, you just had major surgery, right? And then, you know, my strategy definitely had to shift a little. So I prep all my content in advance as best I can. I try to do 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time. So I did have like a bulk of content ready to post. But after surgery and after that first week that I took off because I wasn't a human during that first week, you know, I felt almost guilty posting that content because it was obviously filmed pre-injury, and it was all about being in a show and theater influencing and all these things. And I was like, here I am laying in my bed and I can't walk right now. Like,
yeah, it almost like didn't feel aligned with.
Right.
Yeah, like you were not being fully truthful.
Like, that is a past version of me that is still me. I'm just not that right now. So I changed my captions and was like, I kind of just told people exactly what I was feeling and thinking. Like, I almost didn't post these just because of my injury. These were recorded before this happened, but I still feel like they're worth sharing. Yeah. And then after that content ran out, it kind of shifted into, you know, the Instagram versus reality of like being a professional actor and then recovering from a major knee injury.
Yeah.
So I do think there's always ways that you can shift, because as humans, we're not going to stay the same. Right. And that's true if you're a doctor or if you're a performer. Your life is never going to be completely the same. So you really need to like shift your strategy to who you are currently. And then as you grow, shift it again and again and again, you know. But I will say, for me, showing up, it was like a creative outlet that was taken away from me when I got to perform, you know. So I kind of like filled that void. I mean, nothing can fill the void of performing. There's nothing like it, but it filled that void to an extent of that creativity outlet, whatever you want to call it, while I was rehabbing.
Yeah. And you did it so well. Like, and I mean, maybe you really did. Like, it was genuinely sharing where you were and your journey. It wasn't like it wasn't like an attention seeking thing. It was, hey, here's what's happening. I can't, dance and do my typical content that I typically do because I literally can't right now. And I love how you also always relate things back to like the reality of the industry, your industry as well. It's not all, perfect and what you see on stage, right? It's that behind the scenes stuff. And I'm sure a lot of your clientele can relate to that, right?
And not only that, with social media too. People always say you always see the before and the after, but none of the middle, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I want to showcase with this, rehab during this year, is that like, it's okay to show the middle. Is it as like exciting as the before or the after, showing, both of the end points and starting points? No, but it's still part of your journey,
Yeah. Well, and storytelling though in marketing is so huge, right? People love a story. They love hearing your story. They love seeing the struggle and then how you came out on the other side of it. They love hearing, something they can relate to. Yeah. So that too, if you're constantly showing up as picture perfect in everything that you do, how relatable is that? Right? We can aspire to be that, but it's like, okay, well, how did you get there? Because this seems so out of reach for me. And it's like, oh no, she struggled too. She did X, Y, and Z. She took these steps to get there. And it's like, oh, okay, I can do that too. And then I think in that sense too, like people are like, hey, I want to work with you. Can you show me how you did this? I want to get to that point too. I saw you did it. right?
Exactly. And
It's kind of
that,
like your own case study.
yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because I always say you have to put you in your brand. Like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's so many studies that show when you're quote unquote selling, I hate that word, but that is what we do.
Right, right.
When you're selling with your face as well
Mm-hmm.
as your brand, you get more sales versus people that only use graphics or only use text.
Yeah.
Especially now with social media and the rise of video and TikTok and everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, showing your face and like you as a human, but also you as a business person, right?
Oh yeah.
You as an entrepreneur can be so valuable because like I had a recent client call with someone who found videos of me talking about how much I love an iced chai latte. And, you know, before our meeting even started, I was looking at the clock. We talked about chai lattes for 20 minutes before the meeting even started.
I
And
love that.
that's why she
Yeah.
connected with me, you know,
Right.
which is something so silly,
Yeah.
but it was like a form of connection where she was like, oh, you know, we share this love, like we'll get along. We'll both love a chai latte, you know?
Exactly.
We're both not coffee drinkers. We love the chai, you know?
And I love that you bring that up too, because I always say too, like with content, especially, you're selling, you're showing what you do, all of that. A lot of times your ideal client can't engage with that content. Like they're watching, they're observing because they're interested and they know they need what you offer, but it's kind of like they can't contribute to the conversation. I mean, I know there's people I follow and topics I love, but I have no idea how to contribute to the conversation because I'm watching and learning. Right. So I have no idea how to contribute to the conversation. But if they post something, like you said, like about a chai latte or something that I can talk about, it's like an icebreaker. Like it allows you to kind of start a conversation. And yeah, I love those adding in those little like personality things.
Mm-hmm.
And two,
like I love,
mm-hmm.
Sorry, you go.
No, that's
go
okay.
I was just going to say, like, you talk about your like social media ads that you get all the time. And I feel like I comment every time you post something, like the one day you were doing like workout sets. And it was so freaking funny because it's so true. Like your phone is listening. Like it's so funny. Anytime you post something like that, I'm always like, ha ha ha, like,
yeah, because it's so relatable. We all relate to that. I swear to God, even there are times I swear when I just think something and an ad pops, and I'm like, I did not search this. I did not talk about this. How do they know? It's so freaky.
You open Instagram and there's a beautiful big ad about the thing you were thinking about. Yep.
It's so scary sometimes. But I was going to say too, when you said about putting the you and the face, to your business, it's true. People buy from those they know, like, and trust. We say this all the time. And you have seen this for years in endorsement ads, like, right. You have celebrities endorsing products or endorsing services and whatever. And no one is like, for example, if you like an actor or a singer or a sports personality, whatever, you will notice things that they're doing, even if you wouldn't have noticed that brand they were representing. Does that make sense? Absolutely. So like if I like a certain actor or whatever, and I see them on a commercial, I'm going to be like, oh, that's so-and-so, and you're going to take notice to what they're talking about, and you're going to trust them because you're going to trust the product now because you trust them or the service or whatever it is. Yeah. So it's getting to know, and I think it was, today I just did a post about using psychology to win clients online, and not in a manipulative way. It's using psychology to understand that this is how humans think. Like, this is how we react. This is how we come to trust things. And it's showing up. It's literally just showing up and letting people get to know you.
That's also like the rise of the influencer, right? Which has happened like in the past couple of years, specifically on Instagram and TikTok. You see influencers now going to award shows and promoting products more. And like, it's not always like this, like, it's not always the actor or the celebrity now. It's like normal people, like moms on TikTok and like fashion bloggers on Instagram. It's like random influencers now too, which is super interesting.
Yeah.
With the ever-changing market.
Yeah. And I think we're so used to that concept now too, that any business we want to work with or interact with, it's almost like if they're not showing up, we can't see their face, we can't get to know them. It feels like something's missing.
Yeah.
That everyone else is providing.
Yep.
So like if everyone else is showing up and I can get to know you and feel comfortable with you and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to go with this person. And then this person over here, I don't know. It's kind of like the equivalent of today, like not even listing your number in the phone book or something. Like,
yeah,
if you're not showing up, we can't get to know you. We're looking for those things. We're looking for the website. We're looking for social media. We are doing our research. And
because that's how you get to know someone now.
Yeah.
It's a virtual world now. Like if you're not showing up online, like I'm like, they're not a real person, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that too. And with all that, we always talk about like, is it a bot or like,
yeah,
right. It's even something as simple as having your profile picture in your social media versus your logo. Like it almost feels like who am I talking to? Like someone's commenting back.
Yeah.
Who am I talking to? I don't even know.
Yep.
It's like there's a wall up, know? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So those, you just gotta show up. People want to see you.
That's true.
But, and I really just want to, touch back on too, that no matter what is going on, there's still ways to show up. Like you had proven, like there's still ways to show up. And, not saying someone can't like take a break from social media if they need a break or take a break. Like that's fine. We're not saying like, if you get run over by a car, you still need to show up.
Right. Of
course. We're not.
Of course. Absolutely.
We're not saying that, but it's kind of like if you find yourself maybe making excuses of why you can't show up or you're struggling to show up, it's like, here is Jenna, the perfect example of you can still find ways to show up. It's just about pivoting and sharing your journey or sharing what's going on in the moment. We don't always have to be 100% on selling or talk, because like we just said, people want to get to know the person behind the business too. So,
and showing up can be different every day. Like you don't have to like, it's going to look different per day. Like Wednesdays today is mainly like work on my computer, behind the scenes work. And you'll notice like on my social media, it's not as much on Wednesdays, but I still show up. It's just in a different way. Yeah. And I will say that's because I have really strict boundaries with social media, because we all know you can fall down the lovely rabbit hole, and what you wanted to spend, 5 minutes, looking through some reels, can easily turn into 4 hours, and you're like, where did my day go?
Yes.
This may be unpopular opinion, but I say if you have really good boundaries around social media, you shouldn't need to take as many breaks where you're like deleting the app, logging off.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. And that helps
with your consistency. It has helped me so much that it's like I do all my engaging and commenting and DMing and story posting mostly in the morning.
Same.
And then I'm like, okay, now I need to do my computer work or my phone work. And like, we're not going to open the apps while we do that. And then, after I finish my work, then we can open the apps again, but it's setting yourself up so you can be consistent and, show up for yourself.
I agree with that completely. Yeah. You have to have a strategy with it, just like anything else.
Right.
Just like anything else in your business. And I'm like you, I do all of that engaging, all of that in the morning. I post in the morning and I do all my engaging. And then I concentrate on what I need to get done for my clients or my business throughout the day. And then I will check back in like later in the afternoon. And that might be when I post like, hey, here's what I did today, or share some things like that. Or if I take a break and go on a bike ride, it's like, hey, look, it's a beautiful day. I'll share something like that.
Right. Right.
And then also I have notifications. So I don't get push notifications. So if I'm not in the app, my phone's not going ding, 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 ding. Right.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a must.
That's a big one. Cause I'm like the notifications will be there when I log in. I don't need to see them the second they come in. Right.
It's social media. It's not life or death, you know, right. The DM will be there tomorrow morning, you know?
Exactly. Have fun with it. And yeah, like just, I just make it a to-do list item. Like it's a to-do list. It's a fun to-do list item, but it's a part of the business. So yeah, completely. There was something you said, no, I forgot. It's probably going to be one of those things that will be at the end of this. And I'll be like, oh, so like 10 minutes ago. But yeah, so I also want to see like what, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, but what are so people that might be struggling to show up to, I don't know, maybe they feel like they're making excuses to show up. What are some tips that you would give to make it more of a strategic process, I guess?
Yeah. I would first tell them to lower their standards. Normally when people come to me and they're like, I want to show up, I want to do this and this and this and this, I just like don't have the time, I don't know how to do it. And the first thing I say is, we want to find a strategy that you can be consistent, but most importantly is sustainable for you. And that is going to be different per client, per person. So like maybe instead of engaging, an hour a day, maybe instead we engage for 15 minutes, which we definitely can do every day, versus like struggling, waiting for the hour to be over, So like slowing your standards can really help with that. And you'll find that a lot of your consistency problems, when you set a sustainable strategy, will go away without even addressing the consistency aspect.
Yeah. Yes. I love that, because when you have like these high expectations, especially when it comes to social media, right? Every single piece of content doesn't have to be like an original creation. Right. Because that can be an overwhelming thing too. Like, oh my God, I have to post how much? Like, and two, there's people who say like, oh, you have to post every single day. You have to do, and I'm like, no, you don't have to post every single day. No. Find what is consistent for you. There's actually, I will say, been accounts that post more than once a day, multiple times a day. And I've actually unfollowed them because it was just like they were showing up so much, and it wasn't, it was almost like the filler content, like fluff. It wasn't anything helpful or even entertaining. It was just like, hey, I have one sentence I'm going to throw up here. Like,
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, but having those expectations of you don't have to create so much, you don't have to create as much as you think. And there's ways to grab content that's not, creating things from scratch every single time. Right. But then also the expectation of what you're going to get back from it.
Oh, yes.
Like if you post once, how do I explain it? Like if you post once, that doesn't mean you're automatically going to get a bunch of engagement and someone calling you for your services. Like I wish time, right? If it was that easy, right? Oh my gosh. Yep. If it was that easy. But like we said, it goes back to that showing up consistently so people can get to know you, because they work with those they know, like, and trust. So, I always say too, like, put yourself in the prospect's shoes. If you saw someone you never saw before one time, would you call them up immediately and book them? No, you're probably going to want to watch them a little more. You're going to want to go to their website, see what they offer, sit on it, think about it, and then reach out. So yeah, it takes time. What is it? 7 to 20 times for someone to see you and then, you know, reach out. So yeah, that too, that expectation of, expecting results so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell my clients to get in the mindset of we're going to give more than we get at first.
Yes.
We're going to give. And then eventually we're going to start getting in return. But at first we need to give, you know, the tables will turn at some point, but you know, I wish I had a crystal ball and could be like, in 3 months time, the tables will turn, but it's just not possible, you know?
Yeah.
So for some people, that's a shorter amount of time. For some people, it's a year. For some people, it's a month, you know? It's just different per account. But always in the mindset of give.
Yeah. And it depends too on like, what is the ask? Like, what is the service? Because if it's something really more like impulse buy, that can be a lot easier to get that return back faster.
Right.
But if it's more of like a really long time investment for the client or a monetary investment, that can take longer too. Like, for example, someone who's a financial advisor. Like if you're going to hire a financial advisor, you really got to trust them. If you're going to hand over all your money, right? That's a higher trust kind of business. So those things can take a lot longer. But yeah, there's,
and that's why it's
no crystal ball.
Too, that like the crystal ball. Yeah. I wish I had a crystal ball. What was I going to say? We were talking about client. Oh yes, I remember. That's why I think it's so important to have like content pillars that don't always sell, that we have some personal life, that we have some like interest of yours, and then we can sell and talk about the vision, the business and the mission, but also we have that variety of content. Otherwise, you know, it's going to be, as you said, like redundant to look at, you know?
Right. Well, and two, like you said, sell. Sometimes people might not even realize they need what you have.
Yeah.
So, you know, I always like the 3 that I always try to focus on is awareness content. So like, did you know X could be causing Z? Or did you know that this is even available to you? Those types of content. Then the second type of content is that nurture content of like, hey, here's how you can do what I just told you about. Here's how you can get this. Also getting to know you type of content, right? That sort of thing, nurture them. And then conversion content, which is where you sell like, hey, here's how you can get this, or here's how I did this for my clients. Here's how I did it for myself. And you go through those 3 steps. It takes them on that journey of, oh, okay, I didn't realize this was a thing. 2, oh, here's how you do it and how I can benefit. And then 3, oh, here's the solution I could actually purchase. Right.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Oh my gosh.
Booker.
Thanks, Jenna. But, and you, I want to say too, like, book you, because for any actors, theaters, nonprofit, you know, like you said, all the Broadway niche, you not only have the social media and marketing understanding, but you live on the inside of the industry. So you know what, you just have that unique perspective of being on both sides.
Yeah. Right? And I think too, that is one of the main things when I do talk to new clients. It's like, oh, well, you are my ideal audience. So I know you get what we're doing, you know, and that's like a big selling point with my clients, you know, reasons why they booked me is like, you get it because you're living it. You know, this was you when you were younger, or this is you in 10 years, or this, you know, people again, like, know, and trust.
Yep. Yeah. That's exactly what it comes down to. And that is why, again, it's so important to keep showing up. You know, I think about like, for example, I was thinking about this earlier before we even hopped on here. I was like, okay, I know I'm going to be talking to Jenna and we're talking about, you know, her injury and stuff. And I'm just like, what if she would have had that injury and just stopped showing up? Like, right? Like, it's like yes, you couldn't do, like you couldn't go get a theater gig during that recovery time. But what's happening during that recovery time is you are meeting new people are discovering you are, becoming top of mind with others. And then even if you're working with people doing more of your, like you said, computer work, behind the scenes kind of work,
right?
You might get a client who's like, oh, Jenna, you're an actor too. Like, here's an opportunity that we have. There's just so many doors that can open up just by showing up. And so I always say there's no such thing as luck. It's preparation meets opportunity.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So if you would have disappeared for this year and not been showing up, and then all of a sudden showed up and was like, hey, I'm Jenna. It's like, you have to start from square one. You have to reintroduce yourself. You have to let people know who you are, what you offer. And that's why I say a lot too, marketing can't start and stop.
Mm-hmm.
Like even when you book a gig, you book a gig and you're doing a theater show for 3 months. If you didn't show up and then 3 months later, you're like, okay, I'm looking for another theater gig, or I'm looking for some clients. It's like, well, who are you again?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so important with consistency because everything's connected, right?
Yeah.
So like if I'm doing a show and showing up, like maybe they're like, oh, look how good she is in this show. Like, let's give her an audition for this next show. Yeah. And then now I'm booked when my first show is over and I can do a second show.
Right.
Yeah. It also goes into like the influencer stuff, because when I first started to take my social media more seriously, actually happened over the course of the pandemic and COVID. Yeah. And I was sitting, in my living room going absolutely crazy. And I was like, we're just going to try this thing. And right from the beginning, I was like, I'm going to think of myself how I see these other influencers showing up. Mm-hmm. And, I think that mindset really helped, because how often, we all have our influencers that we watch every day from afar that we feel like we're best friends with, but have never actually met them, Yeah. They are constantly showing up, like literally every day. They are there, they are showing up. And I was like, maybe I'm just going to pretend that I'm a theater influencer. And somewhere along that journey, I actually became a theater influencer. Yeah. And I think that's like the power of mindset, showing up, making sure your mindset's in check. Like those things matter.
They do. And it really works so well for your industry, because we see this all the time with actors. Even, an actor coming onto a talk show, they're coming on to promote a movie. They don't talk about the movie until like the last couple minutes. We are getting to know them. Like, hey, we just saw you coming back from vacation and doing this. And, how are the kids? How are, and you get to know them. And then you're like, you like them so much that you'll go see the movie. I mean, I know I do. I have favorite actors that I will literally just see the movie because I like them.
Yep. Absolutely.
And it works so well. And this also applies. I would say the strategy and the approach is slightly different, but not completely different when you're like a service-based business, because you want people to get to know you. And you want people to hire you. Like it's a very similar, very similar, approach. I think maybe one of the main differences and I'm going to say like as an actor influencer versus like a service-based business, we as an influencer want people to keep watching, stay on the app, kind of watch us. And as a service-based business, we almost want to get people off the app and maybe get them into, an email list or something like that. Now that of course can apply to like your theaters and things like that as well. But yeah, they're very similar. It's that whole know, like, trust.
Right. And that's too about going back to how we talked about kind of shifting and pivoting your strategy based on what your goals are. And that's what you just described, just that teeny tiny little pivot to like change your goal. And that too is like, as we grow and kind of in our lives and as people, like those are the tiny shifts that we can do with our social media too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah. And I want to thank you for being so open and sharing that story and that journey, because I think it's just the perfect example of, you know, how people can do that shift.
Yeah.
And show up. And,
you know, it's interesting. I went to an in-person audition recently, and I sang my songs. And then after, they were like, you know, I know you just went through some major surgery. Like, how are you feeling after that injury? And, you know, I told them, oh, you know, I tore my ACL, my meniscus during a job. But, you know, I'm very close to the year mark. And I have to tell you, that is not on my website. It's not on my YouTube. It's not on my Actors Access. Where did they find that? On my Instagram, on my social media. So it just shows that like people are watching.
They are watching.
Like, I didn't know that they are watching. I didn't know that they were watching, but they are watching. Yep. You know?
Yep.
And that's something that I would have been so embarrassed by, like, oh my God, they knew I had an injury. But now it's just like something's part of my story, right? I use that as fuel, as motivation to move forward, you know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And you saw my jaw drop when you said that, because I knew exactly where you were going with that.
Yep. Well, you should see my jaw in the room. I was like, oh, yes, I have.
Like, oh, so you know that it's working. You know, your marketing is working because they are taking notice, right? I guarantee you that person that said that to you probably wasn't commenting in your comment section. You probably had no idea that person saw, right? Yep.
Nope.
And that little difference, you know, of, again, people wanting to work with those they know, like, and trust. We see this all the time. It's not who you know, or wait, that's wrong. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yes. There it is.
I think it can work the same way. I think it can work the same way with what you're doing, with what we're doing. Is there could be another actor who is just as talented as you are. But if you have that extra leg up on them of, oh, they already know me, they kind of know my personality, they know how it might be to work with me, they already kind of have that vibe about me, you can easily become the more clear choice because there's that level of comfort there. And it's the same with service-based businesses. If you're showing up all the time, showing your personality, you're going to attract those who kind of vibe with your personality and the way you do things, and they get comfortable with you. And it's actually all rooted in psychology. I won't get into that now, but it really is. And it's like, when you are comfortable with someone else can show up with the same exact service, maybe even at a better price, maybe even at a better something, you know, is a little better. But because you're already invested in this person and you're comfortable with this person, you don't want to take the time to get to know how the other person operates. You're like, no, I'm ready. This person suits me, ready to go.
It's a lot of work to invest that much time in someone, you know?
Yeah. So again, that showing up is so powerful, and it doesn't have to be super calculated and analyzed. Like we said earlier, have a strategy so you don't get overwhelmed with it all. Yeah. But, you know, every time you show up, it doesn't have to be a masterpiece. You can just show up as you are.
Yeah. And then too, going back to what you said, like, the more accessible a person is, the more you already are trusting them, right? Yeah. The more you already, like, if I am on Instagram, you know, engaging with new people, and I click their link in their bio and like none of their links work, like, I'm not going to think twice about like sending them a DM or like searching them on Google. I'm just going to close out and go to the next person.
Yeah. You don't want to take the time. Like, we're busy. No. We don't want to take the time to do it. Right. Yeah. And it's also subconsciously, I think, like, it kind of tells us, like, well, if just getting in touch with them is inconvenient. Yeah. Like, would working with them be inconvenient? And that those two might not correlate in real life. Like, you might be amazing to work with, but the only impression we have is the journey we're taking online to get to you. Like that's the only impression we have.
Yeah.
So yeah, that stuff, or even commenting on something and no, they don't comment back. I've had this a few times where there's a local business and I commented to get more information on something and actually asked a question. Yeah. They liked it and never answered me nothing. So I just didn't even bother to pursue getting that. Another person I DM'd, I was looking for a service. I DM'd them and was just complimenting them on their content and their work and like just trying to kind of get a conversation going to see about their services.
Yeah.
And never responded to me, just liked it, left, never responded.
Like, what?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, especially as a business. Like it's crazy because your social media, your email inbox, your DMs, your comment section, it's like your storefront. If someone were to walk into your office or walk into your store and you just ignored them when they said, hey, and they're trying to talk to you and you just ignored them. I mean, that just wouldn't go over well. They'd walk out the door.
You would leave. I would leave.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's the same thing. You just have to be present.
Yeah.
You got to be present and you got to show up and you got to talk to people.
Yeah. Groundbreaking. I know.
Yeah. It's funny. It's really simple, yet really complicated all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's so simple. I think it's really is simple. We sometimes just tend to make it complicated, but
yeah,
it really is simple.
And I do get why people get overwhelmed by it.
Oh yeah.
It's something new and like intense and big, like social media is, and like the ever changing aspect to it. Like I get it.
Yeah.
But that's why, you can hire someone like you or me to like guide you through that. So it doesn't have to seem that complex, when we're actually breaking it down, like, oh, these are the things we have to do. And like, you can totally do this,
Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes it's easier to work with someone like that because you are sometimes so close to your own thing that, I've had this conversation so many times of like, you're so close to your own thing. So things that you think might be important to share really aren't the important things. Like you might want to share 10 things, but only 3 of those are really going to make an impact on the audience. So it's great to have that outside eye guiding you because they can kind of be the eye of your ideal client and say, well, that's really not eye-catching, or that's not important to, to me in the sense of I'm going to look for more information or it didn't catch my attention. And like you said, especially in theater, working with theaters, being an actor, but also being a lover of theater who goes to, you kind of can see all aspects of it and you can look from the outside and see if someone posts something or shares something, if it's going to catch your attention or would draw you in, that sort of thing. It's so much easier to do that from the outside. It really is.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. That's why I think like, it's important. Like I hired someone to do my Problem Solved by Jenna website because I built that business like from the ground and I was like, I love it. And it's mine and it's my thing. And I was like, I tried to start redoing my website, which I do website design.
Yeah.
And I was like picking like a photo for the homepage. I was like having severe anxiety. I was like, nothing works. This is awful,
Right.
Like, I can design a homepage in an hour for a client, but doing it on my own, I was like paralyzed by this one choice all day.
It's so weird. It is so weird. I experience the same thing. Like when I'm creating content or whatever for myself, I'm like, okay, I have like all these things I want to say. But if I'm creating content for a client, I look at it and I'm like, oh, these 3 things are the obvious points. Like this is obvious. We're going to put this out there.
So obvious.
It's so, yeah, it's crazy. I even had someone help me with my brand messaging. Like I knew what I wanted to do and the message I was trying to get out, but I needed help simplifying it and really kind of bringing out those really important, like punches, like the really key points. And yeah, it's so weird how that works. It's
Yeah,
really
I would
annoying
say
sometimes.
it is so annoying. It is so annoying because you're sitting at your computer like, why is this so hard? Like, this is what I do.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Cause like I was doing this the other day. I was working on client stuff and I got all my client stuff done so quickly.
Yeah.
And it's not that I care very deeply about everything I do for clients. Like I make sure I'm very particular. I'm very, really focus on the details, all of that, but I can just do it so much faster. And then when it comes to my stuff, I'm like, okay,
Where's that sticky note I had?
yeah, exactly. Oh, it's crazy. But yeah, so, but yeah, I mean, just kind of tying that back real quick. It's like, that's how I got to work with all the clients I do is, and they're amazing and they align with me. Like, I really feel like we vibe, we get along, and they all met me through like my online presence.
Right.
And, I'm showing up authentically in that way. So when they find me and we talk, it's like, we just click.
Yeah. Which really like helps, I think, your content and anything that you do for clients too. When you do click and you're on the same vibe, like I think it really like resonates with your content or the website you're designing or whatever, that you understand your client. Like, not only on a business level, but on like a personal level, not in the sense that like we're going to grab coffee, during the week, but like in the sense that you get them their personality and what energy they give off and things like that.
Yeah. Their brand voice. Like, you know what they would say, what they wouldn't say. Like, what I write out for this client's not what I'm going to write out for this client. Like it's matches them. So, because essentially we're helping them show up. So we need to kind of be them in a sense. So
yeah. I completely agree.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing all this and just being you and like showing up. Like, I gotta say, I'm so entertained by everything that you put out all the time. Like, I just know that you are amazing at what you do. Cause obviously, we're not seeing like whole theater shows and stuff on your Instagram, but like I see little clips and I see just the way you show up and the way you dance and all that stuff. And I'm like, she is fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Very entertaining. Yeah. So, and everyone, anyone listening, I will have Jenna's information below, but if you just enjoy some good entertainment or you're a theater and you're looking for some help, or you're an actor and you're looking for some help, showing up online, Jenna is the one.
Oh, shucks.
I got
a business card. Please, can I carry you around with me?
Be like your spokesperson. Or what is it? What is it in the acting world? Your publicist?
Yeah, perfect. You're hired.
Yes. But oh my gosh, I knew I would remember this. Maybe I'll try and plug it in. Remember when I said I remember what I was going to say?
Yes.
I remember. And it's when you said taking things and like shifting and turning it into content. It's your sports ball.
Sports ball.
I love your sports ball series. So good. So Jenna shows up with, I guess you were out at it was baseball, right?
Yep.
You went to a baseball game and you are doing all this commentary that is like theater related. And I was cracking up. Oh my gosh. You're like, yeah, they're giving them a standing ovation. or like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of some of the other things you said, but I was cracking up so much.
The dugout, like the stage door.
Yes, the stage door. Oh, it was so fantastic. And I was like, that is like the perfect example of taking something that's not even related to theater, like at all.
No, absolutely not.
And you turn it into content related to your brand and your like genius. Absolute genius. It's my favorite. It's like one of my favorite videos you've ever done. I absolutely love it.
Oh my God, thank you. That was so funny because I am not a huge sports ball fan, if you couldn't tell by me calling it sports ball. But I will say what I do like about sports ball, specifically live, when I go in person to these events, I love the energy. Like
Yes.
that energy, I think is very similar to like a theater community or going to see a show.
Yes.
And that's really what got me thinking like, oh, sports ball does have some crossover here,
Yeah, that's so, so true. Because whenever, like, I am like that too, because, I did the performing and singing on stage and all of that. And there's an energy about that.
Yeah.
And so I typically in real life, like hate crowds. Like if I'm just in a crowd somewhere, I'm like, too many people, like it's too much, it's overwhelming. However, if I'm like in a stadium, like again, I'm not a huge sports ball fan either. I just love the term sports ball. I'm not a huge sports ball fan either, but like I've been to like a baseball game and yeah, it's that energy of the crowd. It's just so fun. It's almost like all these people are there for one reason. The energy is focused on one thing and you just feel that. Same with being in the crowd at a concert or there's something about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that. But I had to squeeze that in there. I'm going to put that in there because fantastic. I'm going to link to in the description of the podcast. I think I'll link to that exact video. It's fantastic.
Which sport should I do next?
Right? Oh my gosh. You need to go to like some other games and like do that or even anything. Like what are some other things you could, anything that's like you're so good at that too. Like you could go to anything and like turn it into like theater.
Absolutely.
So funny. Oh my gosh.
So
okay. I think, well, thanks, Jenna.
Thank you.